Hey everybody, it's Kip with DT4EMS, and I'm here with a new friend of mine, actually a new family member, Kathy Porter. I met her in Alabama last week while we were doing a Train the Trainer program, and I asked her to come on and maybe share some thoughts about what she thought before the class and what she thought after the class. And without further ado, here is Kathy Porter. And Kathy, if you would you just do a brief intro of yourself, how long you've been in EMS, what got you started, that type of thing?
Hey, I'm Kathy Porter. I'm from Huntsville, Alabama. I've been a paramedic for almost 20 years. I've worked at the company that I worked for, HEMSI, for 14 years. Before that, I ran volunteer fire calls in the county with our volunteer fire department, as well as served as a paramedic at the plant that I worked for.
And you do some other things outside. I think we talked briefly while I was there. You're on like some other like teams and stuff like that, where you've traveled around and helped out during like hurricanes and stuff like that. Is that right?
Right. I'm actually over HEMSI's disaster response team, and we responded to almost every major hurricane since Hurricane Katrina. We spent 3 weeks in Sandy up in New York. So I'm on that team as well as over our incident response team, which works with the local police department for riots and things like that.
And it appears as though 20 years in, quite a while with a fantastic department that you're with now. I met several of the people, and I must say that you guys have quite the crew. If we laid all jokes aside, you seem to have quite a few professionals, and it appeared as though you had the respective peers, which I thought was also very cool. And if I'm not mistaken, it was kind of like a lot of hard work on your part that helped get us into your agency. I mean, you were doing a lot of the legwork and all the homework and that sort of stuff. Is that right?
Right. I had a couple other people who kind of threw it out to me, Sparky and Pancake. Pancake had actually taken the class before, and we were in discussion one day about it. I've actually been working with our local police departments and the state troopers, several different people trying to get something to help us learn how to do self-defense if we were ever caught in a bad situation, either on scene or in the back of our ambulance. And I just kept hitting roadblocks. So Sparky Pancake threw the DT4EMS out to me. I was really excited, did a lot of homework, and then just kind of started on that. It was a little bit of a hurdle to get it, to decide, did we want to send a couple people to class or did we want to have the train the trainer, because we are a fairly good sized company. And our CEO actually wants every one of our people to have this. So he just kind of crunched numbers and got with our board of directors and decided that it was best to bring, the whole train the trainer so that we could get a number of people and then start incorporating it into even our new hire orientation, so that everybody, even as they come on board, have the training.
And when so of course you do the homework, you bring us in, and did you have fortunately you had Pancake, and for those who don't know, he's a great big fella, big heart. His heart is probably just as big as he is. Great guy. Had taken it had taken the end user course at one of our instructors there in Alabama, Todd Oyen, and who obviously must have done a great job, or Pancake would have been bringing it up to you. And although I don't mean to digress sideways into talking about Pancake, I was humbled and honored, because not only did he take it, originally, but then he takes the 2 days again so that he can go on and take the Train the Trainer program. And I'll be honest with you, I was pleasantly surprised when he performed during some of the PowerPoint stuff, and we were doing the instructor teachbacks and stuff. And I was kind of like, holy cow, because he comes across as, really just this soft, good-hearted fella. And he presented well. And I was like, holy crap, as did, several people. But and I'm kind of jumping around here, but, there's a part in the class where we start off in the beginning where we begin to ask people about, why they got into it, and, what EMS that is. And then we get to another portion where we begin to ask people about victimization, and how many have been a victim of a true criminal assault, not a confused patient. We're not talking about grandma who scratched someone, but we're talking about a true criminal assault. And would you have to admit, or would you, freely admit, that what I've been sharing for several years, which is that a lot of the published studies, which we thank them so much for finally getting on board and doing these studies, whether it be the AENA, the NEMT, OSHA, Bureau of Labor Statistics, whether it be any of those. But would you not agree that what we've been saying for years, that 80 to 100% of the room admit the fact that they've been criminally assaulted on the job, and only 2 to 3% ever told anybody about it? Did you witness that in our classroom, people?
Yes, 100% in our class.
So 100%, and then we only had a couple of people had actually formally reported it. And we without talking too much about that, we understand now what all those roadblocks are, and we realize what we're going to do to fix that for the future generation of EMSers and nurses that come in, right?
Right.
Now that you've, so let me back up. Did you have thoughts, prior to taking the class, even though you had Pancake, or did you have some people saying some things with what they thought the class might be? Did you have reservations, or, really kind of wondering, or did you have other people telling you some of these things that they're like, no, and then once they take it, what happens?
I did a lot of homework, so I was ready, and I understood that it was a cultural change. I understood that it was going to be a hurdle and to make other people see it. As a matter of fact, I text you, I text Jason, and I discussed. Oh, are you still there, Kip?
I'm still here. There, you've got a little spot where you'll be able to hit your camera and bring it back. It'll show you like a thing with a little video camera. You just need to bring your camera back.
It doesn't show me that.
It's coming, I think. No big rush or big worry. It'll have a little camera icon. You may have to turn your phone back again to see it, but it'll have like one will be a video camera and the other's a microphone. Your mic is still good. We just lost your video.
I don't know where it went, Kip. Let's see if I can make it work again. Are we there?
Oh, yep. Now turn her back to landscape. We're good to go. So you said you had a couple of people talking about either whether it be before or after or what have you?
Right. I had, like I said, I text you, I text Jason, and I was like, why? Why am I having to tell people every day that this is not, I'm not going to learn to whoop somebody's butt? Uh-huh. And both of you text me back the same thing, that that's something you do daily. Mm-hmm. And I was so frustrated, and I was like, that's not what this is. That's not what this is. Even with the members of the class, they were like, okay, so what are we going to learn to do? So I saw that frustration early on, but it was really amazing during the class, even like you said, the first 4 hours, to see the change in the mindset of the people in the class. Now, afterwards, when you went home and I was like all hyped up and I was telling everybody things Friday, I kept getting the same thing. And I mean, it really, it hit home that this is going to be a change that I'm going to have to put, us 12 are going to have to put a lot of work into changing the minds of people and the thought process.
Yeah.
With this.
And really, it's just because now you see why we do what we do with the program. Other people, while, not researching what the problem really is, you know what I mean? And it wasn't until I really, again, I was teaching wrong for years. I was teaching martial arts techniques and I was teaching law enforcement stuff to healthcare until I really went, oh my goodness, because I didn't realize what the real problem was. And now once you see what the real problem is, that's what brings the culture change, because just like in many other classes before, and we don't have to name a name or whatever, but you would agree that there was a person in the class, well, there were several, but there's one, that comes to mind that was obviously someone who could handle their business anytime anything ever come up as far as physically. Would you agree?
Right.
That there's no doubt that person could scrap and has scrapped and is, somebody that if a bad guy got a hold of, they would have gone, oh my goodness, what have I gotten a hold of? And he's the kind that really makes me so excited, because when I hear he gets it, then his brain goes, oh my gosh, it isn't about, could I or could I not? A lot of times it's should I or should I not? And then that's when I'm like, oh yes, thank you, Lord. I mean, that is awesome, because, you know what I mean? It's like, because the pendulum, agreed, is over here that says, we're to be beat up and we can't do anything about it. And then over here, that pendulum swings way the opposite side, where you got people going, kill them all, let's God sort them out. Yes or no?
Yes.
And we see that throughout, our professionals on a daily basis. And it isn't always their fault. It's because the culture has forced them to believe such a thing. And, his was another one of those ones that I was just tickled and excited. I was like, oh yes, man, because it's awesome. Because again, what am I going to teach him? Seriously, what would I teach him about fighting someone or, self-defense as far as a technique? Not a lot. He's super strong. He's super fast. He's already got skill. There's not a lot you're going to teach him as far as the technique goes. But man, maybe understanding when is a good time to apply mine versus when is it not a good time to apply mine. That's where we're going to save him, because we save his butt right then by him not beating up someone that he most certainly could have. And then that protects the agency. It protects real patients. You know what I mean? It protects the culture. But if you looked at it and I asked for your opinion, and what we believe about de-escalation, that de-escalation is a myth, you know, in medicine. But if you looked at the term or the belief of what de-escalation should really be, which is not letting a situation get out of control and trying to keep things calmed down or trying to help bring things down to a calmer level, would you not have to admit that DT4EMS is really ultimately a de-escalation course when you think about it, per their definition?
Yes.
Okay. And so, but we're also a self-defense class, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. So, and do we have a verbal skills section to our program that helps people with the verbal de-escalation, really? I mean, and I try to get away from that phrase, but because it is so ingrained that we still have to use it, but you know the truth, that de-escalation in an emergency medical situation doesn't really apply a lot of times because the people that are attacking our staff are not always able to be de-escalated, because in order to have a communication take place, I have to have a sender and a receiver be able to understand that information, and then they have this, you know, communication loop that a lot of times, based on in your 20 years of experience, would you agree that a lot of times people that are assaulting our staff aren't receiving information because either they choose not to or they're drunk or drugged? Would you agree?
I agree totally.
Okay. Did you have fun in class? Did we have a good time?
We did have a good time. We had an awesome time.
And people of all different sizes and sex and skill level and ages and everything you want to bring up. But we had all kinds of people in the program, yeah?
We did, yep. We had a good mix.
And did it look to you as though everybody was having fun as well?
It did. And everybody said they had fun, so.
And we'll see. So then it's not just an opinion, but they actually told you that.
They were very happy with the class.
Well, so with your position and, you know, in a supervisory, you know, type position, because you and I had talked and you actually wear several different hats. Would you, let me back up. So although you have a lot of experience, a lot of education, and would you then have to admit that what the problem is and our offer of a solution is different than what culturally we think the problem is and culturally what they think they should do about it? You know, did you have a shift in your opinions during and after the class?
Yes. I mean, you realize the problems, like you said, it's not what we think it is, and that the solution is not what we think it is, that there's definitely different solutions. And you start thinking, and even I've talked to several other people in the class this week that said it's an immediate mindset change, that they've already started putting things into play, and that their mind works differently when they arrive on scene than it was before.
And that's awesome, because even a guy who I've been, you know, training my whole life, and the one thing that I really found after all of my years of researching as far as what is the best self-defense technique for a healthcare provider to have on scene, the trick was like, oh my gosh, it's to prevent it from ever, you know, getting to that level to begin with, because we're behind the eight ball. I mean, we got into this because we wanted to help people, you know, not because we wanted to wrestle with an intoxicated person or brag about how many fights we get into on the job. But if you had a friend or say someone else that was in another service and they were like, hey, Kathy, I heard you took this, you know, crazy, you know, ninja EMS chop suey and how to, you know, kill a man in 3 moves class, or, you know, anything like that. What would you tell someone else who was, say, like in your position beforehand, and they're like looking for something to, you know, get their people trained in to try to help make a difference with the culture of violence in healthcare? Is there something you'd want to tell a person like yourself?
I guess I just basically explained to them, you know, I'd probably go over some of the statistics that we had in class, you know, that more people than we realize have been assaulted, and that people don't report it. And then I would explain to them the importance of that, and that this class teaches it in all levels. It teaches us how to approach a scene. It teaches us how to get out of a scene. And one of the biggest things that I've found myself telling people is that you teach in levels, and that the first level is to not get in that situation. And that even when we get to the bottom level, it's always a goal to get back to that top level and to get out of that situation. It's not a goal to beat the crap out of somebody or, you know, to make that person submit, but it's a goal to get myself back safe. Explain that to so many people, and they didn't realize that. Seeing that, they're like, oh, wow, I'm excited now. Because before they just thought, oh, I'm gonna learn how to fight. And
Right.
you know, there's a lot of people like our bigger people, or like our wannabe bad butts, who who want to fight and they think that's the cool thing, but they don't understand how that's going to look in court. They don't understand those 4 places that we have to win in. And when you start saying that, when you bring that to them and say, but how would that look when they tell me, well, I would just I take the O2 cylinder, or I'd kick them in the face, and I turn around and I say, but how would that look? You're always being recorded, and they stop and they think, and they're like, but I have to go home safe. And I'm like, but this still teaches you how to do that without getting yourself in trouble, without making you the assaulter. And when you put it in those words, you see a light come on, and they're like, oh, I didn't think about it that way.
And that's what's awesome is, see, it's kind of like what we talked about when I was there. It's like, look, your people don't know me, and if all they see is a 30-second video on YouTube over here, or a 2-minute video over there, and maybe they see a technique, or maybe they see a process that I'm trying to share with just one little moment in time, they don't get it because they don't know me. But if they know you and you're going, look, guys, especially if they've known you for years and they know that you're a person that is not only for patients, but you're also for staff, but in the end, you're also for the agency, so they kind of go, well, wait a minute, well, if she thinks kind of like that and she's here for us too, well, then if she said, at least then they'll listen, and I think that that's what is so important about the train the trainer programs, is because when you are sharing with your people and you get them to go, look, guys, I'm not a ninja. I'm not somebody who's supposed to fight, but I'll tell you this right now. I'm not going to be able to tell you how to win a fight, but I can sure as hell teach you how to defend yourself should you be aggressed upon on the job. And then the people go, well, wait a minute. Well, if she's saying she's not a tough person and not wanting to fight, but yet you can defend yourself. You know what I mean? Because even, right, we talk about that, how the public has this opinion that self-defense means, because of every hero movie, think of any TV show you want to, every hero ends with killing, destroying, beating up, knocking them all out, choking them out, whatever, the opponent or the bad guy, and we know that in real life, it just doesn't always work out like that. And then, but we're also not supposed to be that, we were supposed to be neutral. But, I'm just double checking to make sure I didn't miss anything. But were you, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but were there a couple of different incidences in class where people were discussing where they had been attacked on the job, and that how they were treated after the attack was, like we say, was actually worse than the assault or attack itself? Did you hear anybody talking about that?
Yes. I had a couple of people do that.
And it's it's kind of heartbreaking, especially when you hear it repeated on how it really goes, because now that you know the truth and you've seen some of the things, because you've not only taken the time to do some homework, but we share some of those personal incidents in class with the real people that live those. And isn't it funny, not as in funny haha, but funny as in ironic, that the people in the class, your class, felt exactly what the people that we were sharing with on the board felt, right?
Yes.
And so is there, well, first of all, thanks again for coming on. And I don't want to take up your whole day, because I really do appreciate you coming on. But I thought it would be important for people, because to hear your side, or to hear what you think, because you're like me, you're a regular person. The difference is you're a lady. And if you're going, well, man, I can do this, and I did have fun training, and oh my gosh, it makes sense, then people will listen to you that don't know me. Is there anything at all that came up, or anything that you're thinking about that you'd want to tell anybody that's even looking about, what DT4EMS is, or what EVE is? Anything that you think would help people research the subject more?
I think they just need to, there's so much information on the website that they can see. There's so many different, they can see the funny Mitch, they can see the serious things, they can talk to people and find out what they say. For me, it was amazing, because I know that I've been in situations that I've just wanted to hold on until somebody got there. And that was my whole goal. I just need to hold on until somebody gets here. And I've been in other situations when, the simple things that you taught us, the parry, the double tap, could have just, for lack of a better word, de-escalated that situation. It made me feel really good when we were going through those things. I'm not athletic, so I struggled with some stuff, and watching other people who are more athletically inclined than I was. But by the end of the class, I had those things. To be able to throw a bigger guy off of me, when he's holding me down, or to be able to get out of a chokehold. That really made me feel empowered. It made me feel like, hey, I can get out of this.
Because we're just pretending if we're choking it, right? We never really squeeze hard, did we? We don't really.
We never really squeezed hard. We never really squeezed hard. But I mean, it made me feel better, because I thought, wow, I can do this. And, like I said, and I feel like a lot of times I feel like I'm fairly competent as far as handling myself, but I know that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because we're up against those drugged or those drunk people who have that strength that they don't, and they're not feeling that pain. I've felt that. So, I mean, even during the class and between classes, I was texting people going, I got out of the ground. I got out. I did it.
Because anything that we don't understand or we don't know makes us afraid. I mean, regardless of whether that's starting an IV on a pediatric, or, escaping the mount, or, escaping the mugger's choke. But, that's the thing, is that so we did things that were scary to you at first. Why? Because they're new. But then once you started to do it for a little bit and practice it for just a little bit, you felt empowered. Yeah?
Yes.
And that's the trick, because believe it or not, once people see the truth, our whole goal is to have people never get into it to begin with. But it took us years to get into the situation with the monster of violence as it is right now in healthcare. It's going to take us a while to get out. But we certainly need to make sure that we're, training for the appropriate. I mean, I wouldn't call an electrician to my house to fix my plumbing. And unfortunately, that's what we're seeing a lot of in healthcare, is trying to apply a round tool to a square problem. And hopefully that we, get people to sift through it enough. And because I don't have the stuff to market a gazillion dollars, maybe the people listening to real world folks like yourself who have recently completed the program go, oh my gosh, this makes sense. Hopefully that will help. But I really do appreciate it. I thank you so much for letting me take the time and throwing you under the bus and throwing you on video and going, hey, check this out, and getting people to hear what you have to say. But what makes it awesome is that, that's the best part of me getting to travel. It isn't for people to go, oh my gosh, Kip, it's so wonderful. The coolest part is getting to go around and meet all these people that I'm blessed to call my peers, or look up to as if they were peers anymore, because now I'm retired from the road. But I will tell you, thank you again. Thank all of your people for having us. And as always, if you have any questions or issues, let me know. And don't hang up yet. I'll end us here in just a second, and then it'll stop the actual live portion of it. But guys, if you have any questions, you can reach out to Kathy Porter. I can obviously get you her, contact information or what have you, or you can reach her obviously by sending me an email, and I'll send it to her and then have her go back to you and things like that. But thank you so much. And as always, we're all about saving yours while you save others. So don't hang up, Kathy.